Welcome. Today I'm back with my Datsun 280z barn find race car. And next week I'm going to be leaving for Road America for the WeatherTech vintage races. I will be racing my Triumph TR4 and Adam Carolla will be there racing his Datsun 510. So I'd like to take this car up there. Maybe he'll come and check it out. So the goal for today is to get the Datsun running well enough that I can pull it in and out of the trailer and have it on display. When I picked up this car, I did not get the old logbooks, so hopefully someone will see this car, recognize it, and be able to tell me a little bit more about its history. And if you've ever wondered, how do I get these non-running cars onto the lift all by myself? Well, here's a look back to earlier today when I moved this one onto the lift. The 280Z doesn't run yet, so to try to get it up on the lift, I have it connected to the wrecker. Try to pull it up there. Seems to be working pretty well. Now I have my line doubled up from the front of the truck, connected to part of the hoist. Almost onto the lift. I've got it reconfigured now on the rear beam. Let's get it all the way on there. The front splitter is hitting the ground, so just a couple quarter turn fasteners. I'm going to take that off real quick. Well, that's interesting. I had not taken that off yet. I didn't know that that structure was hidden behind there. No problem now. First thing I need to do is get this one-piece bonnet off because it is in the way of virtually everything. Now I have the bonnet off, and inside this area, which the door actually needs to be removed to access, is where the battery goes. It's pretty neat. It's got a bunch of hinges here, has this nice clasp that holds the battery in. There's this piece that comes over the top. There was no battery in here when I got the car, but one clue of what battery they were using is it's using side posts and top posts. There's not a lot of group size batteries that have both the side posts and the top posts. So I'm going to take an Optima battery and hopefully that fits. This is such a cool and professional mechanism, and this has to have been made for an Optima battery because this is trimmed perfectly to fit these bumps here on the Optima. And then there's even a pin that goes through here with a little cotter pin to lock this so the battery cannot come out. That is really cool, and that is held in there very firmly. Now I'm going to get all the battery cables connected and we can try some of the switches. All the battery connections are connected. This is pretty neat. The positive terminal, it was double wrapped, so there's a connector cover just like this, and then this big piece of rubber over the top of that, so that is double covered. The only thing that these side posts actually do is go up to the Anderson plug so that you can jump start the car. Let's turn on the main power. Now we can come inside and turn on the driver's power. We'll see if any of these things still work. So we got a trans cooler. Don't hear that. Okay, we got fuel pump number 1. Fuel pump number 2. Ignition that we wouldn't expect that would do anything. And then the starter. I'm not going to hit that one yet. The next thing that I want to do is pull the spark plug wires out, and I'll remove all of the old duct tape from these trumpets. Oh, what a mess. That way I can crank the engine over. We can see if it builds some oil pressure. All the spark plugs look good. There's no signs that there was any moisture or corrosion, no rust on them. So hopefully the cylinders are still in perfect shape. That one was running a little rich, but what I'm looking for is any signs that any water or water vapor got in there, and I'm not seeing any at all. This car has a dry sump race engine. You can see the oil pump for the oiling system right there. That means that there is not a bunch of oil sitting in the oil pan. The oil is stored in an external sump. And that sump would be right here next to the driver underneath this cover. Let's take a look inside there, see if there's oil. I don't see any oil at all. So I wonder if it was all drained out. Reaching down under there, it looks like that hose that goes out of the rear bulkhead, that is the drain for this tank. So let's make sure that that is closed. This drain right here is the drain that comes from the oil sump. So I need to shut this. And I also noticed that they disconnected this oil line here to drain the oil out of the engine. So I need to connect this back up as well. When you're tightening up these AN fittings, you don't want to use a regular steel wrench because it will damage the nuts. You want to use these special aluminum AN wrenches. They're a lot wider and they're softer and are not going to damage your fittings. Before I put in new oil, I want to replace the oil filter. That is stuck. Let's see if the strap wrench can get this off. I hope this comes out. There's not a lot of room here before the filter hits the frame. I'll use some of that old oil to lubricate the gasket. Now I'm going to dump a couple of quarts of oil into the engine. And then I'm going to start filling the oil sump. That should be enough oil now to see if we can crank the engine over and see if we can get some oil pressure. This will be my first time cranking the engine over. The oil pressure gauge is mechanical, so I don't have to have the ignition on. Let's hit the starter and see what happens. There we go, the oil pressure is starting to come up. Looks like we're gonna get 62 PSI from running the starter. And the sump over here is going to help us bleed all the air out of that system. I'm going to put the spark plugs back in. If we look closer at these spark plugs, they were all indexed. There's a line indicating where that electrode tab is, so that you can make sure that they are all pointed in the same direction for best combustion inside the cylinder. And you may wonder, how do you get them indexed correctly? Well, you may have to use these different shims of different thicknesses to make it so that when the spark plug is tight, that your line lines up where you want it to be. And all of the spark plug wires are labeled with zip ties to make sure you get them back in the right place. If we take this panel off, we can get to the master cylinders. They all look like they have fluid in them, so they might work. For now, I'm going to leave them alone and then bleed them when I do a more in-depth prep on this car. This car does not have a fuel gauge, so I'm going to stick a dowel down to the bottom of the tank. Bone dry, there's no fuel in it. I'm putting in 110 octane leaded race fuel. Now that I have fuel in it, let's turn the fuel pump on and check for leaks. I can hear the fuel coming into the carbs. I think the bowls are filled up and I don't see any leaks. Let's try to start it. All right, ignition on and start. It's running. We got good oil pressure. Almost 80 PSI. Let's see if the clutch works. Let's see if we can go forward. All right, it moves. Try reverse. Now, besides putting the bodywork back on, I need to address these wheels. The original BBS wheels, they just do not hold air. They'll hold air for like a day and then go flat again. I even put the spare tires that came with the car on the rear set of BBSs, but they don't hold air, especially not as well as this other set of wheels do. I'll get the wheels changed and the bodywork back on, then it can move around under its own power.